I am holding an egg in my hand right now that was laid more than 9 months ago. No refrigerator, no freezer, no electricity of any kind ever touched it, and it is just as good, just as fresh for cooking as the day the hen laid it. Now I know how that sounds. Most folks have been taught that an egg is good for a few weeks in the cold of an icebox and then it's done. But my people have known how to keep eggs fresh and can often keep for up to a year when prepared and stored correctly. With nothing but a few simple things you likely already have, since long before electricity was even a dream. And today I'm going to show you exactly how it's done, step by step, so that you can do it too. Because once you know this, you will never look at a carton of eggs the same way again, and you'll never be at the mercy of an empty store shelf when it comes to one of the most useful foods there is. Let me get right to it, because this is the kind of knowledge that's too important to bury under a lot of talk. There are really two parts to this. The first is understanding why a fresh egg is built to last in the first place, which most people have no idea about. And the second is the methods, the actual ways we make an egg keep for months and months. I'll give you both. So let's start with the egg itself, because nature did most of the work for us, and understanding this changes everything. When a hen lays an egg, that egg comes out with a thin, invisible coating on the shell. We call it the bloom, and some folks call it the cuticle. It's a natural seal put there by the hen, and its whole purpose is to protect what's inside. You see, an eggshell isn't solid like a stone. It's covered in thousands of tiny pores, little openings too small to see. Those pores are how the egg breathes, but they're also a way for air and bacteria to get in and for moisture to get out. And that bloom, that natural coating, it seals up those pores. It keeps the good in and the bad out. A freshly laid egg with its bloom still intact is a little sealed package that nature designed to stay good for a long, long time, all on its own. Now here's the part that will surprise a lot of you, and it's the single most important thing I can tell you. The eggs you buy in most stores have been washed, scrubbed clean. And when they wash that egg, they wash off the bloom. They strip away that natural protective coating the hen worked to put on. And once the bloom is gone, the egg is exposed. Those thousands of little pores are wide open now, and the egg starts to age much faster, which is exactly why a washed store egg has to live in the cold of a refrigerator and only lasts those few weeks. We took nature's seal right off of it. In many other parts of the world, eggs aren't washed at all, and folks keep them right out on the counter for weeks without a second thought, because the bloom is still doing its job. So the very first secret, before any fancy method at all, is this: do not wash your eggs if you mean to store them. If you have your own hens, or you can get eggs fresh from a farmer, gather them with the bloom intact. If an egg comes out clean, and most do, you leave it just as it is. Don't run it under water. Don't scrub it. That bloom is the most valuable thing on that egg for keeping it. If an egg is a little dirty, you can gently brush off the dry bit with a dry cloth or a soft brush, but you do not wash it with water if you can help it, because the moment you do, you've started the clock ticking. A clean, dry, unwashed egg with its bloom intact, kept in a cool spot like a cellar or a cool pantry, will stay good for weeks and weeks all by itself with no method at all. That alone is more than most people ever knew was possible. But weeks and weeks isn't a year. So now let me give you the real old methods, the ones that take an egg from lasting a month to lasting many months, even a year or more. And the best and surest of these, the one my people have trusted for generations, is called water glassing. Now don't let the strange name worry you. It's a simple thing. Water glassing is a way of storing fresh, unwashed eggs in a special liquid that seals them completely and keeps them fresh for up to a year, sometimes longer. And the liquid is made from just two things: water and something called pickling lime. Pickling lime is a fine white powder, and it's been used for putting up food for a very long time. You can find it where canning supplies are sold. You mix that pickling lime into water, a certain amount per amount of water, until you have a milky solution. And then you take your fresh, clean, unwashed eggs, the ones with their bloom still on and their shells not cracked, and you gently lower them down into that liquid in a crock or a large glass jar. The eggs sit down in there, fully covered by the liquid, and you put a lid on it, and you set it somewhere cool and out of the way. And that's it. That's the whole method. Those eggs will keep submerged in that lime water for many months. We've kept them a full year this way and had them come out good. What's happening down in that crock is that the lime water seals up every one of those tiny pores in the shell, even better and longer than the bloom alone could. It locks the egg in a kind of suspended state, keeping the air out and keeping the egg from aging. The lime makes the water just the right kind of environment that bacteria simply won't grow in. So the egg sits there, sealed and protected, patient as can be, waiting for the day you need it. When you want an egg, you just reach down into the crock, lift one out, give it a quick rinse under clean water at that point, and use it like any fresh egg. It's a beautiful thing, really. A crock of eggs in the corner of the cellar, enough to last your family through the whole winter when the hens slow down their laying, which they naturally do when the days get short and cold. Let me give you the few rules that make water glassing work, because the details matter, and I want you to get it right the first time. First, every egg must be fresh and unwashed, bloom intact. This is the one rule you cannot break. A washed egg with its bloom gone will not keep properly this way because the lime water needs to seal a shell that's still whole and natural. Second, the shells must be clean and uncracked. You hold each egg up and look it over. Any egg with even a hairline crack you set aside and eat soon. You don't put it in the crock, because a crack is a door for spoilage. Third, the eggs must stay completely submerged under the liquid the whole time. Any part of an egg poking up above the water is exposed, so you keep them well covered. And fourth, you keep the crock somewhere cool. A cellar is perfect. A cool pantry or a cool corner works. The cooler and steadier the spot, the longer and better they keep. Follow those 4 simple rules and you'll have good eggs for the better part of a year. Now, water glassing is my favorite and the surest method, but it's not the only old way, and I want to give you another in case you can't get the lime, because the old-timers had more than one trick. This other way is even simpler, and it's the greasing method. What you do is take a fresh, unwashed egg, and you coat the whole shell in a thin layer of fat. Lard works. Some folks used a food-safe mineral oil. You just rub a little all over the shell, sealing up those pores by hand, doing the same job the bloom does, but adding to it. Then you store those greased eggs in a cool place, and here's a little detail the old folks swore by. You store them pointed end down, with the round end up, and some would turn the whole batch over every week or so to keep the yolk from settling against the shell. Greased and stored cool this way, eggs will keep for months. It's not quite as long as water glassing in my experience, but it's simple, and it works, and it uses things most folks have right in the kitchen. There were other ways too, going back through the generations. Folks packed eggs in barrels of dry salt, or in sawdust, or in sand, or in bran, anything that would surround each egg and keep it from the air and hold it in a cool, dry, steady place. Some packed them in lard entirely. The principle behind every single one of these methods is exactly the same. Seal the egg from the air, keep out the moisture and the bacteria, and keep it cool. That's the whole secret behind all of them. Once you understand that principle, you understand why they all work. And you could near about invent your own method, as long as you honor those same simple rules. Now, I have to be the honest neighbor with you for a moment, because keeping food safe is a serious matter, and I would never steer you wrong on it. When you take an egg out of storage after months, you check it, every time. The old float test is the simplest way, and it's been used forever. You put the egg in a bowl of water. A good fresh egg will sink and lie down on its side at the bottom. An egg that's starting to go off will stand up on one end, and an egg that floats up to the top, that one you throw out, because floating means air has gotten inside and it's no good. So you float test your stored eggs, and you use your nose too, the way folks always have. You crack a stored egg into a separate small bowl first, never straight into your batter or your pan, and you give it a look and a smell. A good egg looks and smells like a good egg. A bad one, you will know it the moment you smell it. There's no mistaking that smell, and you simply discard it and move on. No harm done, because you cracked it separately like a wise cook does. These stored eggs are wonderful for all your cooking and baking, your scrambles and your breads and your cakes. Just check each one, trust the float test, and trust your nose, and you'll have nothing to worry about. That's simply good kitchen sense, the same sense your great-grandmother used every day of her life. Let me tell you a little more about why winter is the very reason all of this knowledge came to be, because it helps it all make sense. A hen is a creature of the light. When the days are long and bright through the spring and summer, she lays and lays, near about an egg a day from a good young hen, and a family with a dozen hens finds itself fairly swimming in eggs. There's more than you can eat, more than you can give away, baskets and baskets of them. But then the days start to shorten, and the cold comes on, and a hen naturally slows right down. Some weeks in the dead of winter, she may give you hardly any at all. That's just her nature, the way the good Lord made her, resting through the dark season. Now, a family that didn't know any better would feast on eggs all summer, watch the extras spoil and go to waste, and then go without all winter. But a wise family does the opposite. They look at that summer abundance not as more than they need, but as winter's eggs arriving early. They put up the surplus while it's pouring in, and they eat from their stores when the hens go quiet. The whole art of water glassing and greasing and packing eggs was born from exactly this, the need to carry the summer's plenty across the bridge of winter. Understand that, and you understand why our ancestors went to all this trouble. They weren't being fussy, they were being smart, and they were eating well in February because of the work they did in July. Now let me give you a sense of just how much you can keep, because folks are always surprised. A good-sized crock can hold many dozens of eggs in water glass at once, all of them keeping for the better part of a year. So a family that puts up a few crocks in the abundant season can have eggs right through the lean months without ever buying a one. Picture it, a cool corner of the cellar, 2 or 3 crocks, each one holding a small fortune of good eggs, quietly waiting. That's a winter's worth of breakfasts, a winter's worth of baking, the binding for a winter's worth of meatloaf and custard and cornbread, all secured in the fall and costing you nothing more to keep. There's a deep contentment in walking past those crocks and knowing what they hold. And I'll tell you, the lime water itself keeps just fine the whole time, doing its quiet work. You don't have to tend it or fuss over it. You set it up right at the start, get your eggs submerged and your lid on, and then you mostly just leave it be, reaching in for eggs as you need them through the months. It's about the lowest effort way of putting up food that I know of. No hot canning kettle steaming up the kitchen, no careful pressure work, none of that. Just clean eggs, lime, water, a crock, and a cool, dark corner. It may be the simplest food preservation a person can do, and yet it's one of the most forgotten. I remember as a child watching my mother put up the eggs every fall. It was just part of the rhythm of the year, as sure as the leaves turning. She'd have us children help her look the eggs over, holding each one up to make sure there were no cracks, no dirt, our small hands learning the work the way hands have always learned, by doing. And then down they'd go into the crock, dozens and dozens, and she'd cover them, and we'd carry the crock down cellar together. And all that long winter, when the snow was piled against the house, and the hens were huddled and quiet, we never once went without an egg. I didn't think anything of it then. I thought everyone did this. It was only when I was grown that I understood how much knowledge was in that simple yearly task, and how rare it had become out in the wider world. That's part of why I tell you these things now, so that knowledge doesn't die. So a child somewhere watches their own mother put up the eggs and learns it the way I did. So let me put the whole thing together for you, plain and simple, the way I'd tell it to one of my own children learning it for the first time. It starts with the egg itself, fresh and unwashed, with that precious bloom left on, because nature already did half the work. For keeping eggs a few weeks, that's all you need, just a cool spot and an unwashed egg. For keeping them many months, you water glass them. Fresh, clean, unwashed, uncracked eggs lowered into a crock of lime water, kept submerged and cool, good for up to a year. Or if you can't get the lime, you grease each egg with a thin coat of fat and store them cool, pointed end down. And whenever you take one out to use it, you float test it, and you smell it, and you crack it into a separate bowl, just to be sure. That's the whole of it. Knowledge that kept families in good eggs through every long winter for hundreds of years, and it still works just as well today as it ever did. Now I want to step back and tell you why this matters so much to me, beyond just the eggs, because it's about more than eggs, truly. Think about what this knowledge gives you. The hens lay plenty in the warm months, more than a family can use, and then they slow right down in the cold and dark of winter when you'd most like to have them. For most of history, that was just how it was, a feast and then a famine. But these methods break that cycle. They let you take the abundance of the good months and carry it forward into the lean ones. You put up your eggs in the fall when they're plentiful, and you eat well all through the winter when they're scarce. That's not a small thing. That's the difference between a family that's at the mercy of the seasons and a family that has learned to outsmart them. That's real provision. That's real security. And it costs you almost nothing but a little knowledge and a little care. And that's the heart of everything my people believe about how to live. We don't waste the gifts of the good times. We gather them, we put them by, and we make them last. The hen gives her eggs freely in the season of plenty, and it would be a kind of disrespect to let that bounty go to waste just because we couldn't be bothered to learn how to keep it. So we keep it. We honor the gift by making it last, and in doing so, we make ourselves free. Free from the empty shelf, free from the worry, free from needing to run and buy what we could have simply saved. You can do this too, wherever you are. You don't have to live on a farm. Maybe you find a neighbor or a local farmer who keeps hens and sells eggs unwashed. Maybe you keep a few hens of your own one day, which is a joy all its own. However you come by good fresh eggs, you now know how to make them last far beyond what most people ever thought possible. You know the secret of the bloom. You know water glassing. You know the greasing method. You know the float test. You're holding knowledge in your hands now that whole generations had forgotten, and you can put it to use this very season. So the next time eggs are plentiful and cheap, or your hens are giving you more than you can eat, don't let a single one go to waste. Put them by. Fill a crock. Set it in a cool corner. And come the deep of winter, when the days are short and the hens are resting and the store shelves might be bare, you'll walk down to your cellar and lift out a good fresh egg that's been waiting there patiently for months, and you'll know the quiet pride of a person who provides for their own. That feeling is worth more than I can say. If this is the kind of old, practical knowledge you've been hungry for, the kind that got quietly set aside and forgotten, then stay here with me. There is so much more where this came from, and I mean to bring it back to you, one piece at a time. Subscribe, and we'll keep remembering the old ways together, because some of the most important lessons we ever had are the simple ones we let ourselves forget, and it's never too late to remember them.